GoPro color profile. Hi, until now I've been a real GoPro fan. I had the 5 and loved it, took it everywhere, all over the place, and it always took pretty good pictures, never really let me down. Then a terrible thing happened. I went out to Menorca, it was lovely and hot, and my poor GoPro Hero 5 decided to cook itself and would no longer turn on. I pulled the battery out, left it out actually for a few weeks, and lo and behold, after a few weeks of rest, gave it some bed rest, I put the battery back into the Hero 5 and it did actually come on, but then I thought, okay, it's time to upgrade, so I went to a 7. When the new 7 arrived, I realised straight away there was a difference in colour, quite a massive difference, and I started to notice for the first time this sort of pancake look on my face where it looked like I'd put makeup on and the colours went slightly, I think, orangey yellow type of colour. Sometimes footage would come out looking fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Other times the footage looked peculiar, funny colours, things like that. After seeing the Hero 8 on YouTube, I didn't fancy that, especially with that lens not coming off. And I didn't particularly care for most of the pictures I was seeing because that colour profile I'd seen in the 7 seemed to be a bit worse in the 8. I didn't like that. It looked good in sunny weather, but in British weather like this, where it can be quite grey and a little bit dull, it just looked blooming awful, to be honest. So I was delighted when the 9 came out and I got one straight away. First thing I noticed when I tried the Hero 9 out was that the audio adapter no longer worked once you updated to the first firmware that they released, almost straight away with the camera itself. So now I've had the GoPro for a week and I'm still kind of very uncomfortable with this camera, and the reason once again is the colour profile. All you lucky people out in sunny places, you seem to get really good colour. It looks vibrant, bright, still looks a bit pinky to me sometimes, but mostly pretty good. But us poor devils in the UK, where we've got this kind of weather I've got now, we can get terrible colour profiles that are very difficult to adjust in post. I've had problems all week, and what I've been doing is setting the camera to GoPro colour, setting it to auto, letting it do its thing, taking it home and looking at the footage, and wow, was it off. With everything in auto, I found that the picture was going slightly yellow looking, or sometimes very yellow looking, or even pink looking, or making my face look almost orange. And the other thing I noticed was this shirt, or any shirt this colour, was not the right colour. This is blue here, green here, and down below there's another patch of blue. Now I found that the GoPro couldn't do blue that well. I spent 7 hours editing a very small film where I was adjusting colours and hues and playing around with colour to try and get this shirt to look the right colour. Now the worst thing was when I actually got it to be the right colour, everything went to pot on the picture, just went in, the bits broke up, we got blocks and all sorts of things happening. The picture was awful. So I couldn't get this back to blue without the picture breaking up. So for me, the GoPro colour profile just doesn't work. It doesn't do it for me at all. So I've now gone on to the flat profile. I'm going to try that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try adjusting it in post to try and get the contrast and the colour levels reasonably good. And now, even in the making of this video, I've been out for 10 minutes and the GoPro has locked itself up 3 times where I've had to pull the battery, and it's switched itself off twice while I've been trying to make a film. So yesterday I was playing around with colour profile, and what I did was I exposed for the back of my hand so that the GoPro was really shut down and it was exposing for my hand, and I locked the exposure. Now on those occasions, after I ramped the picture up in post, the colour looked fine, but every time I used auto, the colour went to pot. I went orangey yellow, it was overexposed. So I think that the auto levels on the GoPro are set too high. But not only that, the gamma seems to go all over the place and the colour profile goes to pot. Just as a note for anyone that's using a GoPro, this is set in flat colour profile. I've fixed the colour temperature at 5000. I'm going to be adjusting the picture in post because it's, as I say, it's flat, and I want to maybe boost the saturation and adjust the contrast ratios. The exposure itself is under by 1 stop, and even so on the screen, I'm looking on the screen, and it does look as though I might be slightly overexposed every now and then as well, still getting those highlights blowing out. And so it might need even more than 1 stop to be put, more than 1 stop down. I think in future I'll take an exposure from my skin and lock it for future. So that's how it looks on a flat profile when you're using it out and about. And even though I'm using a flat profile and looking at the screen on the front here, I know I'm going to have to be adjusting the colours and contrasts in post. So it seems to me that the GoPro is no longer a point and shoot type of camera, especially when it's in GoPro colour. It's even harder to sort out. So it takes a little bit of work to get a decent picture. Well, I hope this hasn't been too negative for you, but there are people who are buying these, you know, still buying these now, and they're over £400, £425. Add a media mod, you're getting on now for £500. And the camera's locking, it's switching itself off during recording, it gets quite hot. There are issues, I think, with the color profile, serious issues, and the audio adapter doesn't work, so you have to have the media mod at the moment. GoPro say they're going to fix these things with an update soon. There's one coming at the end of October, there's one coming in November, I think, to fix the audio, hopefully. But until they fix the color profile, it's a bit difficult, because you just can't take great pictures all the time. You can't rely on it. If this had been a Sony camera, I would have been absolutely horrified if I had to keep updating the firmware, if I had to keep adjusting the color profile because it didn't look right, if the camera kept locking up. I think if it had been a Sony, I wouldn't accept it, but for some reason we accept this with GoPros, and I don't know why, especially as they're not exactly a cheap camera. So I hope this hasn't been too negative for you, but just as a warning for anyone who's thinking of going out and buying a GoPro Hero 9, there are issues with the camera, and those issues are hopefully going to be fixed soon. But personally, I think I should have waited until the fixes appeared to see what else appears later on as well, because there are things that are happening with this camera that I'm just not happy with, and I'm kind of missing my GoPro Hero 5, which went back to GoPro in Holland, in Amsterdam. Is it? No, somewhere else, isn't it? It went back to Holland as a trade-in for this one, and you know, I really wish I hadn't done it now. Anyway, hope this has saved you a bit of money, and I hope to see you next time. Please consider subscribing. Cheers for now.